Friends and viewer, good day. Leo Tolstoy, a world-renowned writer, had written a very best short story. The name of this short story is The Bird. So it is a very simple story about the enslavement of the bird by a boy named Seryoja. In The Bird, Leo Tolstoy, we have the theme of control, freedom, selfishness, responsibility, and change, narrated in the third person by an unnamed narrator. The reader realizes after reading the story that Tolstoy may be exploring the theme of control. Seryoja wants to use his gift from his uncle to control the lives of the birds that he might be able to trap. He wants to take away their freedom and put them in a cage for his own amusement. Though some critic might suggest that Seryoja is acting as a child should act, this does not take away from the fact that he wishes to change the lives of each bird he catches. Everything is for Seryoja enjoyment. He has no real consideration that he might be taken each bird out of his natural habitat, which may leave some reader to suspect that Seryoja is being selfish or self-controlled. Not self-controlled, but self-centered, thinking only of his own enjoyment and disregarding the natural desires of the bird he tries to trap. What is also interesting about the story is the fact that Seryoja mother does not put her foot down when it comes to the bird trap. She knows that it is wrong, but there is a sense that she is allowing for Seryoja to learn for himself. It is only by learning for himself of the dangers of the trap that Seryoja will truly learn a lesson. In many ways, Seryoja, without knowing it, is trying to break the spirit of the bird he traps. The cage is, after all, an unnatural environment for the bird, which is probably the reason as to why the bird eventually dies. Something that may not have occurred should the bird be allowed to remain free. It may also be a case that Tolstoy is just using a bird as an example, and that his intention are to instruct people not to trap wild animals, to not break the spirit of the animals, that a wild animal lives in the wild and should be left to prosper in the wild without the interference of man. If anything, man is not a friend to wild animals and views such types of animals as trophies, something for his own pleasure, as is very much the case when it comes to Seryoja and the bird. There is also some symbolism in the story which may be important. The cage represents containment or the loss of the freedom. The trap may symbolize the tools that will use in order to trap or control an animal. Seryoja looking after of the bird could also be symbolic of the lack of care that man will provide or can provide to a wild animal. If anything, man is ignorant of the needs of wild animals and has no right to try and trap or control them. Seryoja mother may also represent a level head, particularly because she allows for Seryoja to learn from his mistake. The fact that the bird's wings are beating against the bars of the trap gives the reader a sense of panic and foreshadowing to what happens later in the story when a bird dies. There is also a possibility that Tolstoy is exploring the theme of responsibility on two counts. Firstly, Seryoja is not old enough to act responsibly and to take care of the bird. And secondly, Seryoja has to take responsibility for his action. The bird died because it was trapped by Seryoja. The end of the story is interesting as Serioja's decision not to try and trap another bird shows that he has changed in some way. He is acting like a boy who knows what responsibility is, which may have the feel of a nice ending to the some story, except for the fact that the bird lost its life due to Seroja's action. He may not repeat them, which is a lesson in itself, but at the same time, Serioja is responsible for the bird's death, something he may not punish himself over or be expected to punish himself over. Serioja, after all, is only a child, and every child and adult makes mistake that they should not be overduly punished for. The important thing to remember is that Serioja has learned a lesson when it comes to trapping wild animal. We know we will not trap another wild animal again, no matter how much fun he had in doing so. Serioja has learned that there are consequences for his actions, and this is in itself a valuable lesson to learn. Man has no right to try and trap wild animals, and animals that are wild should be allowed to stay in their natural habitat, free from any human scrutiny or desire to be controlled by man. So this is the story from which we can learn a lesson that we have no right being a human being or a civilized to entrap a wild animals or a bird, or to deprive a bird or an animal from their freedom. So this is a very wonderful lesson that we can learn from this short story, The Bird by Leo Tolstoy. Thank you very much.